Following that breaking news, the NFL, when it comes to Sue L. Robinson's decision to suspend Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson for 6 games, that's been confirmed by our NFL insiders Josina Anderson and Jonathan Jones this morning. By the way, the NFLPA will not appeal, while the NFL, they do have 3 days to file an appeal. That, of course, falling in the hands of Commissioner Roger Goodell. Watson also is not facing any additional fines. Now, if he does serve the full 6-game suspension, he would be able to make his debut for the Cleveland Browns in 2022 against the Baltimore Ravens in late October on the 23rd, which is week 7 of their schedule. Joining us now, we got Scott Pioli and Charles Davis. And Scott, I'll start with you. Your expectations or reactions to this news today, the 6 games, because at one point we thought it would be a year, maybe double digits, but now we're set on 6 here after that news today.
Yeah, my reaction to this is it's complicated. There's a lot of layers to this situation, and there's information in layers that I'm not smart enough to figure out or be informed enough to have. And there's a judge that's in place that made a decision, and this judge knows the law far better than me. This judge knows all of the information far better than me. So I take this moment and then I compartmentalize, and I have to look at it from my front office view. Again, I'll just say, from where I sit, I'm not sure I agree with it, and I don't know all the information. Again, a very, very complicated situation for the NFL right now. So now as you sit there as a team, you've got this bit of information. Now the team needs to sit and say, okay, what is the league going to do? Are they going to go with the 6 games? Are we going to move forward? What are we going to do? And if you're the Cleveland Browns, you're sitting in a situation right now, well, that's only 6 of our games. We've got to find a way to win a couple of those, and then when Deshaun is back, we'll hopefully win some more.
Scott, I love how you articulate just how difficult this is and how complicated it is, because there's so many layers to it. There's so many different ways of going about it. If I just take it and Brandon just say, okay, if the question is, what's your reaction to the game suspension, the number, what have you? For me, it's zero surprise, like absolute zero. I know that there was this talk about him getting a year, that potentially the league was going after a year. Once the criminal charges went away, quote unquote, I never thought that would actually happen. I thought that might be a goal. I thought the number would be 6 to 8, and it's right into that number. So this is zero surprise whatsoever. But going back to where Scott's talking about how complicated it is, as the front office person, if Scott's the GM of Cleveland, you have to understand they've done their work already, meaning they've gone through contingencies. How many games? What's it going to be? Who's our backup situation? When does he get back when you're able to? Does that mean he's out for preseason? Does it mean this? How will we work our practices to make sure that the new starter will be ready to go, supposedly Jacoby Brissett, and right on down the line, not to mention you're discussing fan reaction. How do we do this as an organization? What's the message we send out, et cetera? So there's so many things to it. Scott, he gave us a great synopsis of just how complicated and layered this whole thing is. But as far as the game number, as I said before, zero surprise. I thought 6 to 8 from day one, and it hit right in there.
Scott, I would actually piggyback off that and put you in that front office perspective. When you look at it, a situation like this, very unique, as you guys both have outlined it a little bit. But are you looking at this and maybe handling this as maybe a player injury when you may have your guy missing for 4 or 5 weeks? And as Charles said there, you have a Jacoby Brissett that you signed in the offseason. You just picked up Josh Rosen as well. How are you actually day by day going by this at least to week 6 or week 7 once you get Watson back?
Like I said, the most important part, Josina just mentioned this prior to us coming on air, is they now have to find out, or as a general manager, you're waiting to find out, does the suspension begin immediately, or is the suspension going to be like other suspensions where it doesn't start until the first day of the regular season? Because this fact is, if he's not suspended immediately, they've got the entire preseason for Deshaun to work in practice with his teammates in preseason games to learn to get your offense going, to get people on the same page. And then the way other suspensions work, boom, it starts the first day of the regular season. Is he going to be in the facility? Is he not going to be in the facility? Are they going to allow him around? Will he practice? He probably won't practice. So you've got to start to take some of that information in. But to answer the question, this is treated really, it's different but similar to a player being on PUP or any other suspension, because you're going to not have the player for the games, but he can be around the facility, potentially, depending on what the league's ruling is, and he won't be able to practice. So during that time, he's getting in shape. He's around the teammates. Maybe he's not. Again, there's still so much more information, but it's treated like, again, if a player is coming off an injury from the previous season and they're on PUP and they can't play for a certain segment of the season, it's different than an injury that happens right now because those things surprise you. They are not surprised. They have been able to do a lot of contingency planning to get themselves to the situation, not only for training camp, but in their minds, they knew that there was going to be some degree of a suspension. And I'm right where Charles is. I'm not surprised by the number at all based on what the league and what the judge did and what the league is going to do. So to me, this has been, it's an awful situation, big picture on so many levels. But for the Browns, this is now a good situation.
A lot of details to unfold there when it comes to those 6 games, as well as if he can participate in preseason and training camp. A little difficult to figure that out the closer we get to week 1. And Charles, you, of course, will be on the call week 1 there against the Panthers for the Browns. Your expectations of what this team will look like, not just week 1, but the first 6 games into the season for them.
Well, Brandon, for me, this is still a good roster. I mean, this is a team that went to the playoffs in 2020. And it was a disappointment they didn't make it last year for a variety of reasons. We know the injuries kicked in, other things affected it. But they were a team that had high hopes, and those hopes are not going away. And what would be interesting for me is us on the outside, we're looking at those first 6 games, and I think we are, and I wonder if Scott would concur, we're from the outside saying, hey, can they just hang in there? Can they get a split in the first 6? But if you're Kevin Stefanski as a head coach, if you're Andrew Berry as a general manager, if you're the Haslam family, you're not sitting there wanting the message to go to your team, hang on till the savior gets here. You're trying to win all those games right here, right now. You know Deshaun Watson's going to be your quarterback starting with game 7, but you're not looking at that and just saying, guys, if we can just hang in there. No, you're going in and saying we have to attack our schedule. We know the Baker Mayfield game comes right out of the gate. That just adds another layer to what you're doing, but that doesn't affect you as a team. That affects us on the outside. Bottom line is, it's almost like I could see Dick Vermeil, Coach Vermeil, going to the Hall of Fame now. We're going to move forward with Jacoby Brissett. But that's what they have to do. They have to move forward. You remember when Coach Vermeil said that they're going to move forward with Kurt Warner? Scott remembers it well. Unfortunately, how well did they move forward? They moved forward with Kurt Warner, and that team went to a Super Bowl, and then Scott's team got them the next time out. So that's how it works. That's how the team has to go about it. It'll be very interesting to me, though, because we're going to write all the stories about, can they get a split? The Browns aren't thinking split. They want to be the best they can be before Deshaun Watson gets back.
Hoping Jacoby Brissett could just not lose games. That's the plan there as we get closer to week 1 there. As always, Scott Pioli and Charles Davis breaking that down, the suspension for 6 games for Deshaun Watson. Heading into week 1, taking a look at the QB depth chart again. Watson, of course, out suspended for those first 6 games. That ruling coming down this morning by Sewell Robinson. That decision, of course, could be appealed. The NFL has 3 days to do so. So Roger Goodell in the driving seat when it comes to that. Outside of that, QB2 now elevated to 1. Jacoby Brissett, as we just talked about, a proven winner, 14-23. And then when it comes to QB2 without Watson, Dobbs and Rosen will have a chance at that the closer we get to the season.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.